Hi, and welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Rrain, and I'm one of the many volunteers that help to create programming for the station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 12, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, advertisers, staff, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. So this is the Neepawa banner and press for Friday, March 5th, 2021. Which happens to be my mother's birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. A little shout out to you. I can't take you to lunch, but I will be painting your kitchen. So our cover story today is The Plot Chickens by Owen Devereaux. A major change is on the menu for Neepawa's restaurant scene, as Chicken Chef will soon be taking over the Chicken Corral building. The agreement was announced on Tuesday, March 2nd, via Chicken Chef's social media. It has been a long road, but well worth the wait, as our adventure is about to begin. On April 1st, 2021, Chicken Chef will be taking over the Chicken Corral building, the Winnipeg-based restaurant franchise wrote. The company's statement also indicated that they would be introducing a few new features to the family dining establishment, including an online ordering option. Founded in 1978, Chicken Chef has become a well-known food franchise to many Manitobans, as it has 33 restaurants located throughout the province. There are also a pair of franchises in Saskatchewan and one in Northern Ontario. The financials of the agreement have not been made public at this time. Daryl and Belinda Critchlow, who have owned and operated the Chicken Corral in Neepawa for the last 3.5 years, told the banner and press that it's been a privilege to serve Neepawa and area over that course of time. We have been very fortunate to have had the opportunity to serve our community and to have been included in the many stories shared of friends and family, and for this we will always be grateful, stated the Critchlows. The Chicken Corral has been a main gathering place for our community since 1979, and although the name will be changing, the history associated with the building and the three families, Holliers, Cavers, and Atoniaks, that had the foresight to build this business from the ground up, will remain part of our community for years to come. The Critchlows also extended a thank you to the staff, both current and past, that they have worked with at the restaurant over the years. They noted that the team have been a major part of carrying on the tradition of providing great food and service to all of the patrons. Lastly, the Critchlows offer a sincere thank you to the community for the tremendous support that they have always received, most notably through this past year with the COVID-19 restrictions. In its online statement, Chicken Chef thanked Daryl and Belinda Critchlow for offering them this incredible business opportunity. They indicated that an official opening day will be announced in due course. The history behind Chicken Corral. According to the Banner and Press archives, the construction of Chicken Corral began in June 1979. Excavation at the site started following the sod turning ceremony by then Neepawa Mayor Gary McElman and the restaurant's first owners, John Atoniak, Lloyd Cavers, and Wayne Hollier. Hollier sold the Chicken Corral restaurant to Dean and Doris Tremaine of Melita. The couple took possession March 1st, 2000. Daryl and Belinda Critchlow purchased the Chicken Corral from the Tremaines in July of 2017. Neepawa gets support for fire department upgrades by Owen Devereaux. Neepawa's fire department will be getting some very significant equipment upgrades. The town of Neepawa has received just over $54,000 in funding through the Manitoba Fire and Protection Grant Program. The one-time $5 million fund was created late last year by the province to support fire protection and emergency response units. The grant money received by the town will be going towards the purchase of 4 specific items, including a hydraulic rescue tool. That says $31,917.34. This item is commonly known as the Jaws of Life. The Neepawa Fire Department does own one of these rescue tools, but this new equipment will be far more powerful. Next, a drying cabinet for firefighters' clothing and equipment. Comes in at $9,814.57. This cabinet is specially designed to dry both the inside and outside of heavy-duty overalls and turnout or bunker gear. And a thermal imaging camera coming in at $9,011.25. This type of equipment captures and creates an image of an object using infrared radiation. The created image represents the temperature of the object. While the town already owns one of these types of cameras, it is an older model and due for replacement with a more advanced piece of technology. And a water rescue craft, which is $3508.46. This type of specialty boat is designed for small or shallow water operations. Neepawa Fire Chief Eve Gillis said the purchasing of this new equipment is a big deal for the department. It's very significant. All of this equipment will be the latest technology, stated Gillis. The jaws of life are going to be up to today's standards and will be able to get through all types of vehicles without issue. The dry cabinet, as well, is an important addition because it will dry all the clothing and equipment quickly. A firefighter's gear can't be damp because that can cause health issues for the firefighters and damage the equipment over time. So having these upgrades, along with a new imaging camera and rescue boat, are tremendous. Gillis noted he doesn't know just yet when the equipment will be in Neepawa, but he's confident its purchasing and delivery will be moved forward in a very timely manner. COVID-19 updates from February 24th to March 2nd. Manitoba expands reopening plans. The next phase of reopening has been unveiled by the provincial government. The new changes will come into effect on March 5th at 12:01 a.m. and include, most notably, capacity for restaurants will increase to 50%. Household restrictions for seating will not change. Retail stores, malls, and personal services can increase to 50% or 250 people, whichever is lower. Households can now choose to continue designated 2 visitors to their home or designate a second household so that 2 households can visit each other, as long as everyone in the house has authorized those designated individuals to visit. Places of worship can increase capacity size to 25% or 100 people, whichever is less. Third round of bridge grants issued. The provincial government has increased its budget for the Manitoba Bridge Grant Program. The decision will make a third round of payments available to businesses impacted by COVID-19 restrictions. Eligible businesses that received a first and second bridge grant payment will automatically receive a third equal payment beginning as early as Friday, March 5th, and will be notified of the deposit via email. Active COVID-19 case counts. It's been another week of falling COVID-19 case numbers for the Prairie Mountain Health Region. From Wednesday, February 22nd to Tuesday, March 2nd, there were just 7 new COVID-19 cases in the region. That's less than the 9 cases reported last week and the 39 reported 2 weeks earlier. The total current cases in Prairie Mountain since March 2nd are 2,060. Only 14 of those are currently active. There have been 53 deaths in the region. Assisipi has one of the most active cases in Prairie Mountain with 4, while Brandon currently has just 2. Whitewood, meanwhile, has 0 active cases. Provincially, the northern region has the most active COVID-19 cases with 582, while Winnipeg's cases are at 366. Both of those numbers are down from last week. Margaret Lawrence Home planning for events again, by Kira Patterson. After having to cancel events and stay closed the majority of 2020, the Margaret Lawrence Home Board is optimistically planning for a better 2021. The first thing on the schedule for this year is the upcoming annual general meeting, where the group hopes to add more board members and volunteers to the team. We're holding it on Wednesday, March 10th at 7 p.m. via Zoom, explained Brenda Ferguson, bookkeeper and communications coordinator for MLH. She noted that the AGM is open for anyone to join. They are just asked to email mlawrencehome@gmail.com to request the link for the Zoom meeting. We are looking for additional board members, and anybody who has some volunteer time to assist with special events or fundraisers that we're doing, we would appreciate that they let us know, Ferguson stated. Looking further into the year, MLH is planning a fundraising event this summer. They will be hosting an outdoor art show at various gardens in the Neepawa area on Saturday, July 17th. It's actually an event in Birtle. Birtle calls it Gallery in the Garden, explained Ferguson. And I saw it posted on Facebook, and I thought we should do that in Neepawa. So I thought about it, and I thought, it'd be a good event for the Margaret Lawrence Home. Rrain Pryor, myself, Margaret Lawrence Home board member, added, Margaret wanted the home and her legacy to be a living arts center and to include living arts activities rather than just being a museum. And this is perfect. She loved her yard, she loved the garden, and art in the garden is just sort of a perfect idea to match with the house and with her wants. So the idea of the event is people will purchase a ticket and then they can tour these 4 yards. But amongst these gardens, there's going to be some artists set up to display their work, explained Ferguson. We've gotten as far as finding 4 gardens to participate in the event, Ferguson said. The locations include the Lily Nook, south of Neepawa on Highway 5, Glenda McPhee's garden, just east of Neepawa on the northeast side of Lake Irwin, Paul Cashell's garden, about a mile east of High Life, and Julie Brilla's garden, just across for the flats in Neepawa. We just picked 4 that were well known around town, explained Ferguson, and sizable enough to host artists, added Pryor. The garden at the Margaret Lawrence Home will also be used, and it will be at the starting point of the gallery art tour. That's where people go to register, and there'll be 1 or 2 artists on display there as well, Ferguson noted. While the locations have been finalized for the event, Margaret Lawrence Home is still looking for artists to display their work in the gardens. We've got the gardens, we need the artists, and a lot of the gardens can accommodate 2 or 3 different artists. So we might be looking for a dozen, but it's important that people understand spaces are limited, Ferguson expressed. Pryor noted that they already have a couple artists on board with the idea, so if anyone is interested in displaying their art at the event, they shouldn't wait to get in touch. We're looking for artists in any medium, so we're not just looking for a bunch of paintings. Ceramic art and glass art, wood art, sculpture, whatever people want to show, Pryor stressed. Anyone interested in displaying their art can contact the Margaret Lawrence Home Board via the email listed previously. That is mlawrencehome@gmail.com. If anyone is interested in volunteering to help at the event, there will be setup to do, such as putting up tents. Pryor noted that they will also need volunteers on site during the event to help with any incidentals and to make sure COVID-19 protocols are being adhered to. We would be happy to have volunteers, expressed Pryor. Ferguson noted that this event sprang from a need for funding to help with the upkeep of the house. We're putting a new roof on the house this year, she explained. She noted that because the roof is so steep, it's more expensive to get done because of added difficulty for the roofers. So they really need some fundraising and donations to help cover the cost. Tickets for the garden and art event are not for sale yet, but that will be one way to help the Margaret Lawrence Home raise the funds it needs. Anyone wanting to just make a donation can make checks payable to Margaret Lawrence Home and mail it to Box 2099, Neepawa, Manitoba, ROJ 1HO. Tax receipts will be made out for any donations of $50 or more. Not only are Margaret Lawrence Home busy planning an event for the summer, they also have plans to open the home to visitors again. We are planning to open up for weekends starting on May long, noted Pryor. Pending any closures, of course, through public health orders, she added. Open days will only be weekends for the first couple months, then they will be reevaluating in July whether they will open during the week as well. Now for Helen Drysdale's Out of Helen's Kitchen, a real favorite, grain elevators. Elevators were a symbol of Western Canada. In the 1930s, there were nearly 6,000 elevators marking the prairie landscape. Every village and town had its row of elevators that played a significant financial role in the life of a small town. These sentinels could be seen for miles across the prairies, proudly proclaiming the agricultural community. In 1885, the Canadian Pacific Railway was completed. It became easier to exploit the wheat, but still hard work to load the train. All the grain was bagged and had to be carried or trolleyed to a loading platform with a waiting box car along the main line. Every bag of grain was emptied by hand, which was back-breaking work. Grain companies built flat wooden warehouses along the lines to store the grain. Brookdale has the only remaining flat grain warehouse in Manitoba. This system of shipping grain was inefficient. Canadian Pacific Rail Lines offered free leases of land to encourage the construction of elevators. CPR had stipulations. Elevators about 50 to 60 feet high with 25,000 bushel capacity and elevating and loading machinery. Most elevators were constructed using crib wall construction. Cribbed walls are 2-inch stacked planks, ranging from 4 to 10 inches wide and spiked together. When the wagons with grain came into the elevator, it was weighed, the grain emptied into a pit, and the wagon reweighed. Then a conveyor belt with cups, the leg, powered by a motor carried the grain up to a distributor that put the grain in the selected bin. Most elevators had between 12 to 16 bins of various sizes, which sloped to aid the grain flow. The whole system used the advantage of the fluidity of grain and gravity to move it more easily. At the bottom of these bins are chutes and spouts that directed the grain into waiting railroad cars. Niverville's claim to fame was Western Canada's first elevator, built in 1878. It was an unusual circular structure holding 25,000 bushels and was the only one of its kind. In 1900, there were 447 elevators in Manitoba. 6 of them were in the village of Franklin, which was situated on a main line. In the 1920s, farmers' cooperatives also began to enter the business, and many elevators bore the name of Pool or United Grain Growers. The elevators were a meeting place for farmers. Over a cup of coffee with the grain agent, you would find out who had got hail and who had bought a new tractor and complain about the weather. Often the farmers' young sons hauled the grain to the elevator with the team and wagon. The elevator agents knew who the grain belonged to by recognizing the team of horses and not the boys driving them. My husband Alan managed a national grain elevator in Pope, Manitoba from 1966 to 68. His little elevator held 53,000 bushels of grain. Later in life, he was so impressed at the farmers' new bins holding 50,000 bushels per bin. It was as much as his little elevator had held. Grain elevators are rapidly disappearing from the prairie landscape, replaced by large inland terminals with names such as Viterra, Cargill, and Richardson Pioneer. Inglis, Manitoba has preserved 5 of these prairie icons and is now a notable tourist destination. This recipe helps use some of the wonderful flour made by our prairie wheat. Enjoy these fresh pretzels. I don't know about you, but I've always wanted to try making pretzels, and now I have the recipe to do it. And that is something you will have to check out in the paper. Now on to our rural outlook. Minnedosa wants province to step up support for Evergreen Environmental. This is our town council notes from Tuesday, February 23rd by Owen Devereaux. Minnedosa is hoping to see more provincial support for Evergreen Environmental Technologies' gasification project. On February 23rd, Town Council formally requested the Manitoba government provide technical and financial assistance to the project, which has been in the works for several years. In basis terms, gasification burns garbage and the resulting heat is used to heat buildings or generate steam to produce electricity. The EET project is the first of its kind in the province and would be a major step forward in establishing a cleaner, more efficient means of producing electricity. If successful, it would also have the ability to be replicated anywhere in Manitoba. Evergreen Environmental Technologies is a regional solid waste disposal facility which serves Carberry, Elton, Minnedosa, Minto-O'Donnell, Neepawa, and North Cypress Langford. The gasification project should be starting in the near future. Mayor Pat Skach provided an update to Council on recent meetings. These gatherings remain virtual, including an all-net presentation on cell phone application on February 10th, and an Association of Manitoba Municipalities, AMM, insurance presentation on February 11th. The mayor also reported that a letter of support has been written up for the Squirrel Hills project in their application to the Building Sustainable Fund. An item of note from CAO Cindy Marzoff at the most recent council meeting. Marzoff notified council that beginning on February 19th, water distribution had to be redirected from Water Treatment Plant 1 to Water Treatment Plant 2 due to power surges. Manitoba Hydro reviewed the issue and indicated that they believed the problem is with the building and not related to hydro equipment. An electrician is being brought in to look at the problem. A few other notes. Service to Seniors have moved its base of operations to the 50 Plus Center. The Minnedosa Library has received a $2,000 donation from Farm Credit Canada. It also indicated that March 2nd had been selected as its tentative reopening date. The summer reading program will also hopefully restart this year. Minnedosa Veterinary Board has budgeted an increase of 2% for 2021. It has also reported that there are increasing amounts of customers coming in from outside the area, including Brandon. The RMs of Elton and Whitehead have joined the Assiniboine West Watershed District. The district has noted that approximately $1.3 million will be spent on capital projects for 2021. The installing of 3 dams to the north of Minnedosa are currently part of that plan. Minnedosa Tourism reports that walking tours have been well received. The Tourism Committee is also looking at hosting movie nights for the summer. The Minnedosa Museum has noted that the Heritage Trust Fund has grown from 2,500 to over 21,000. Spruce Plains RCMP report by Corporal Jacob Stanton. During the week of February 22nd to February 28th, Spruce Plains RCMP dealt with 53 police activities. On February 22nd, RCMP responded to a structure fire in the RM of Minto O'Donnell. All residents escaped without injury. Police were dispatched to a domestic assault in Minnedosa. 1 person was arrested and charged as a result. Police received a report of a missing person in the municipality of Glenella Lansdowne. After extensive searching, the person was successfully located. On February 23rd, RCMP received a report of identity fraud in the RM of North Cypress Langford. There was insufficient evidence to proceed further. On February 24th, RCMP attended the scene of a single vehicle rollover in the RM of North Cypress Langford. The driver received minor injuries and the vehicle was towed. Icy road conditions were a contributing factor. Police responded to a commercial alarm at a business in Neepawa. Upon building inspection, the alarm was deemed false. On February 25th, RCMP responded to a breach of peace report in Neepawa. The person causing the disturbance was removed and returned home. Police received 2 reports of dangerous driving in the RM of Oakview. Patrols were made for both reports, but vehicles could not be located. On February 26, RCMP responded to a tractor fire in the RM of Rosedale. There were no reported injuries. Police assisted with a sudden death in Riding Mountain and received a report of harassing communications in the municipality of Westlake Gladstone. On February 27th, RCMP were dispatched to a residential fire in the RM of Minto O'Donnell. There were no injuries, however, the entire home was considered a loss. Police attended the scene of a single vehicle rollover in the RM of Minto O'Donnell. The vehicle was towed and the driver was uninjured. On February 28th, RCMP responded to a vehicle fire in Minnedosa. There were no occupants in the vehicle at the time of the fire. The vehicle was deemed a total loss. Police conducted proactive traffic enforcement, engaging with several motorists. RCMP conducted 25 traffic enforcement actions during this reporting period. If you have any information about these crimes or any other crimes, please contact your local RCMP office or Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, the Neepawa and Minnedosa RCMP detachments advise they will be limiting front counter services at the detachments until further notice. We request that you contact each detachment at 204-476-7340 for Neepawa or 204-867-2916 for Minnedosa to inquire about criminal record checks or to file a report. Leave a message if needed and it will be checked the following business day. Do not leave a message if you require immediate police assistance. You must dial 204-476-7388 for Neepawa, or 204-867-2751 for Minnedosa, or 911 to have a police officer respond to you promptly. It's a deal. Beautiful Plains Teachers Association ratifies new collective agreement by Owen Devereaux. Members of the Beautiful Plains Teachers Association have unanimously ratified a new collective agreement with the school division. The teachers have been without any type of deal since June of 2018, so this 2-year collective agreement is retroactive to that date. It includes a 1.6% salary increase for the 2018-2019 year and a 1.4% pay bump for 2019-2020. It also gives substitutes a 3% increase at signing. The Beautiful Plains Teachers Association agreement is notable because it is the first deal made in Manitoba since Bill 28, the Public Services Sustainability Act, was passed by the provincial government in 2017. The PSSA mandated a 2-year wage freeze for the public sector workers as each new collective agreement was negotiated. Although the PSSA was never formally proclaimed, its effects were felt, as most employers followed the government's direction to freeze wages. Manitoba Teachers Society President James Bedford said that this deal is a turning point for collective agreements across the province. The Beautiful Plains Agreement throws open the doors to collective bargaining between teachers and school boards again, said Bedford. The Beautiful Plains Teachers Association represents 139 members across the Beautiful Plains School Division, which is based out of Neepawa and manages 15 institutions across the region. It is expected that the School Division Board of Trustees will review and approve this new collective agreement during one of its meetings in March. The Neepawa UCT supports local Salvation Army. What a lovely photo here. On February 4th, Neepawa number 924 UCT Council made a donation of $200 to the Neepawa Community Ministry Center, the local Salvation Army branch. UCT appreciates all they do in our community. Pictured here is Amanda Nottingale accepting a check from Neepawa UCT Secretary Treasurer Ann Manziuk. Neepawa Rotary Club meeting joined by Guatemala members by Kira Patterson. The Neepawa Rotary Club has hosted international guests for the second time in the span of a month. A pair of club members from Guatemala joined their Zoom meeting on Wednesday, February 24th, after a British Rotary member had spoken to the club only 4 weeks prior. Beatriz Aguilar and Selena Mexicanos from Club Rotario Guatemala Norte gave the Neepawa group an update on how their projects have been coming and how COVID-19 has affected their country. Aguilar and Mexicanos, as well as their club, had a previous connection to Neepawa Rotary. Ron Nordstrom, one of the Neepawa members, was part of a 6-person team that went to Guatemala in 2017 as part of a vocational training team. He was there for 4 weeks, working with the teachers and students in a village called Hoya Verde, and the Guatemala Norte Club hosted his team while they were there. The Guatemala Norte Club has been working in Hoya Verde for about 12 years, starting with the building new washrooms and moving on to the school and a number of other projects. Aguilar noted that they were able to start projects in Hoya Verde because of an initial $1,000 grant from a Canadian Rotary Club. Some of the projects Guatemala Norte has been able to do in Hoya Verde, with support from Rotary programs and donations from Canadian and American clubs, included building a new school, constructing a water treatment plant, helping locals build bathrooms for each housing lot, and providing continued support to the locals with training and kids' recreational programs. Aguilar noted that the bathroom units are the current project they've been working on. So far, they've built around 55 units, with 52 more needed to supply one to every household that has a connection to the sewage system. We're very happy that we're getting ahead in this project, Aguilar expressed. We really have to give a big thank you to you at the Neepawa Rotary Club, because without your help, we really couldn't do a fraction of what we're able to do with all your support. While the club has been making steady progress in the village of Hoya Verde, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought a lot of challenges to the whole country. Mexicanos explained that most schools have closed due to COVID-19. The majority of the cities are in tighter lockdown, where the schools have to close, but in the rural areas where schools are allowed to be partially open, many don't have the facilities needed to allow safe in-class learning, so they are closed anyway, with distant learning options in place. Mexicanos added that the economy as a whole has suffered, with an estimate that it will take until 2022 to recover to the state it was in pre-pandemic. Despite COVID-19's challenges, the Guatemalan Norte Club has been able to continue their work in Hoya Verde, as many rural villages have been fortunate enough to have little exposure to the virus. The country as a whole, however, is just waiting until vaccinations come so they can start getting back to normal. History with the Beautiful Plains Museum by Casper Werhan. Enthusiasm towards getting a hospital established in Neepawa truly took hold in 1903. Following community efforts to put money together, a total of approximately $12,000 was raised. A site on the northeast corner of town on a knoll overlooking the White Mud River was selected by the committee. Plans for construction went ahead, with some changes to the desired plans. Originally, the plans had called for a main building with 2 wings, but there was not enough money to carry this out. To compromise, the main building plans proceeded and any additional wings would be added later. The soil was broken in July 1903. On February 8, 1904, the Manitoba legislature passed an act incorporating the Neepawa General Hospital. A few months later, the first patient, John Fallon of Burnie, was admitted on May 24th by Dr. I.I. McInnes, who was the physician in charge. The training of student nurses began that same year, the first class consisting of Christina M. McConnell, Bertha Rowland, and Maggie Lamb, with Mrs. Snyder as a superintendent. Student nurses were housed on the 4th floor of the hospital until 1920, when the nurses' home was completed. The addition had been proposed in August of 1919 by the Victory Loan Committee under the chairmanship of J.A. Clare. An additional wing was added to the hospital in 1926 and the nurses' home in 1936. Nurse training programs were eventually discontinued, coming to an end in 1945. It was later decided that the nurses' home be sold and moved off-site if possible. This venture proved too difficult, and the building was demolished in 1980. By the late 1940s, the hospital portion had become obsolete. The hospital committee sought the establishment of a new hospital to replace it and serve as a war memorial. The new development opened on June 12, 1951, and operated for 20 years before factors such as technological developments made renovation necessary. $750,000 later, the renovated space was opened on June 9, 1973. Note this information was culminated from Neepawa Land of Plenty, 1883 to 1983 heritage. Right. The importance of customer reviews submitted by the Better Business Bureau. There's an underlying current that sweeps through customers' minds and directly impacts company success. It's not always top of mind when customers think about why they made a particular purchase or when owners think about how they run their business, but it's integral to both of those things. This underrated but important factor, customer reviews. Customer reviews allow consumers to check the credibility of a company or the authenticity of their products before they buy. Reviews help people understand what kind of company they're doing business with and give information that an advertisement does not. Reviews allow companies with quality products and good customer service to stand out. For small companies, this is especially important, as it gives them an edge to compete with big box stores and companies with higher brand recognition. But there's a problem with customer reviews. The quality control on reviews themselves is often lackluster, allowing some companies to delete bad ones, to generate fake positive reviews, and face unwarranted backlash. The Better Business Bureau believes in ethics and fairness. With this in mind, the nonprofit corporation has designed a review system that removes some of the flaws from the typical review system. The Better Business Bureau vets every review it receives and challenges the identity of the person who submits it to weed out fake feedback. It gives the business an opportunity to respond to see if there's a misunderstanding that can be easily resolved. In some cases, reviewers take to the internet with a gripe without first allowing the company to correct its mistake. In other cases, there's a simple misunderstanding. For instance, a business owner once discovered that his customers were complaining online that the motion sensor on his product had a delayed response. He says that once he was able to explain the reason for the delay feature, customers were grateful for it. The Better Business Bureau also uses the reviews it receives to launch investigations into businesses, should the reviews warrant it. It gives them valuable information on what's going on in the marketplace, so they can work to make it a more fair, equitable place for both consumers and companies. To use the Better Business Bureau's review system to get a less biased, more accurate representation of a product, service, or company, visit www.bbb.org and www.bbbreview.us. Here and There by Gladwin Scott, excerpts from the Carberry Town Council Zoom meeting February 9th. Reuben Hoffman shared his plan for the lot on the corner of Toronto Street and 2nd Avenue. It will be a 2-story fourplex with 2 suites up and 2 suites down. Each will have 2 bedrooms and be 1,100 square feet. First and second reading of the new indemnity schedule for the mayor and councillors to take effect March 14th. April 13th, there will be a public meeting to discuss the proposed vacant and derelict building bylaw. You may contact the town office for more information. Rakowski Cartage and Demolition of Winnipeg were granted permission to demolish 41 Main Street. A John Deere machine with broom, snowblower, blade, spreader, and mowing deck attachments was purchased. The Doctor's Suite tender was awarded to Lyons Estates. Residents are encouraged to use census.gc.ca to register for the new census update. Grants are based on the census. John McKenty will be project manager as 44 Main Street renovations start for the new town office about March 1st. Sandra Schmerler Day was held on Sunday, February 20th at the Scotties Tournament, and about $700,000 was raised for neonatal hospital equipment. Skip Rachel Homan, who is 8 months pregnant with her second child, supported the cause by stating how valuable this equipment was for her firstborn. Curl Manitoba and Chairman Rob Van Comer have confirmed that the 2022 Manitoba Scotties Tournament of Hearts will be held in Carberry beginning December 14th, 2021, with 12 rinks participating. The Scotties are being held earlier due to the Olympic trials. 4, maybe 5 of the rinks, which played in Calgary, will probably be in Carberry for the event. Much of the world has suffered hardships over the past year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Some vaccines have been developed to help curb the surge. Until recently, we have depended on the small country of Belgium as our vaccine source. There have been hundreds of deaths and many lost jobs in Canada. Tremendous debts have been incurred trying to cope with the situation. Manitoba has recently purchased 2 million doses of the vaccine from Providence Therapeutics, an Alberta company. This amounts to $36 million at $18 per dose. Our premier stated that the United States pays between $24 and $35, depending on the manufacturer, and the European Union is paying between $18 and $22 per dose. That's interesting. Carberry United Church members meet new minister by Gladwin Scott. Carberry United Church folks were excited to meet their new minister, Emma Seaman, online at the AGM Sunday, February 21st. Currently, Emma is in her 5th year of the Master's Divinity program at the Atlantic School of Theology in Halifax. This is a co-op program involving classes and work experience. She has been preaching at 3 rural communities each Sunday for 5 years. In one, they have no piano or choir, but sing a cappella. She and her husband, Jason, who will graduate from the University of New Brunswick with a degree in communications, live in St. Stephen, New Brunswick. Emma grew up in Wallace, a lobster fishing community, and graduated from Pugwash District High School. Pugwash is near the Confederation Bridge, which connects Prince Edward Island and Nova Scotia. This was followed by a 4-year science degree majoring in environmental issues at Acadia in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. Mrs. Simone is a soprano who loves to sing and did tour England and Scotland in 2006 as a member of the Acadia Chapel Choir. While at Acadia, she spent 4 months in 2008 at the Brandon Research Station. This was a great summer as she learned much about cereal crops and the Westman area. Our new minister wanted to settle in a small rural town and is interested in getting involved with community activities. Swimming, camping, Girl Guides activities, where she was both a member and a leader, are some of her interests. Creative writing and drama are other assets. An adventuresome young lady, as a 14-year-old, Emma spent 3 weeks in China visiting her grandmother, who was teaching English. Then, as an 18-year-old, she returned to China to teach English for 4 months so her grandmother could holiday. Emma and Jason will celebrate their 5th wedding anniversary June 25th and are arriving in Carberry on July 1st, after which they will quarantine for 2 weeks. All right, before we move on to hockey, I have a couple other things to cover here. I think this is an important one, is Pharmacy Awareness Month. Recognition to those that can read the chicken scratch on your prescription. I love that. Pharmacy Awareness Month turning focus to appreciation, submitted by the Canadian Pharmacists Association. Pharmacy Awareness Month, the annual national campaign that shines a spotlight on all things pharmacy, is moving from awareness to appreciation this March to better reflect and celebrate the extraordinary role pharmacists play in healthcare, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. Staying open and accessible throughout the pandemic, the pharmacy community stepped up like never before to answer questions, allay concerns, provide additional healthcare services, and give a record number of flu shots, all the while putting in the necessary procedures to protect their staff and patients, says Christina Tulk, chair of the Canadian Pharmacists Association. Tulk, a frontline pharmacist in Corner Brook, Newfoundland, has seen firsthand the extraordinary efforts demonstrated by pharmacists over the past year. The profession has really shown that it is up to the task during this unprecedented time, and I could not be prouder to be a pharmacist. As key members of healthcare teams slated to administer the COVID-19 vaccine, the largest public health mobilization of its type in Canadian history, it's time to celebrate the work of pharmacy professionals for the role they play day in and day out, added Tulk. From renewing prescriptions, delivering vaccinations, providing medication management services, and assessing and prescribing for minor ailments and conditions, there are more reasons than ever to celebrate the pharmacy profession, highlight the healthcare services now offered at the pharmacy, and encourage Canadians to thank their pharmacy professional. This March 2021, let's celebrate and appreciate the pharmacy professionals who have been there for Canadians throughout the pandemic. The Canadian Pharmacists Association is the uniting national voice of pharmacy and the pharmacist profession in Canada, as pharmacists undertake an enhanced role in the delivery of healthcare services. CPHA ensures that the profession is recognized as a national leader in healthcare, influencing the policies, programs, budgets, and initiatives affecting the profession and the health of Canadians. Keep an eye on www.pharmacist.ca/PAM for more information and resources about Pharmacy Awareness Month 2021. All right, let's take a look at some of the views around the community. Let's see, listening to the information part 2. This is Ken Waddell's editorial, so this is Ken's thoughts. Here is another batch of comments and information that I have received in response to a request I put out 2 weeks ago for readers to share their experiences with healthcare and especially with COVID-19. So these are anonymous and they have been sent in to Ken. I agree that the casualty numbers as presented by the government are misleading and manipulative. Even more concerning, for me anyway, is a trend in the reporting of these numbers. First, let me say that I mean no disrespect to those who have lost a loved one during this time, for any reason. My issue is not with the loss, it is with the deceitful reporting of the net cause. While there appears to be a net 99 additional deaths last year, we must remember a couple of things. The annual death rate can vary from year to year for a vast number of reasons. A nasty winter or a bad flu season can change the numbers. A nasty flu season is really akin to what we have here. A net difference of 99 deaths above 11,120 is statistically irrelevant. From the beginning, the doctor and head nurse have said there is no excess morbidity in the context of annual deaths. Calling these deaths due to COVID-19 is a poor misrepresentation of the truth. I corrected them on this, and they have since changed the wording to deaths of people with COVID-19. I can't take credit for it, but at least that was a more positive admission of fact. You'll notice that there is no distinction in the reporting of deaths in persons with great ages or underlying health issues. Apparently, no one dies of old age anymore, and there is no identification of relevant comorbidities. Not to be insensitive, but we expect a certain number of deaths among young and or otherwise healthy people. It's a fact of life. Same goes that we expect a certain number of deaths among the elderly. A death of a man in his 100s is not shocking and certainly not lockdown worthy. There is no clear distinction or accounting for deaths that have occurred due to inadequate care in personal care homes and other places where the residents were unnecessarily put at risk because of poor on-site management and care or government policy lacking in oversight and control and died as a result. Same goes for patients who were exposed to COVID-19 while already in hospital. Collectively, these deaths are literally blood on the hands of our government. So the question is, were there at least 99 such cases? I'll bet there were, or more. Here is another opinion that was sent in to the paper. My wife and I separately can visit my mother-in-law, but if we take her out to our place, she would have to self-isolate for 14 days. However, if I take her down to the dentist in Minnedosa, where she'll contact at least two total strangers, she can return to the facility without self-isolating. Makes no sense. And there's a third item from a person who has written their opinion into the paper. I'm writing in response to the article you wrote. I have a very positive story to share in relation to my parents-in-law's battle with COVID-19. Dad-in-law at 80 years old and mom-in-law at 83 are happy survivors. How I wish that my fellow Canadians and others around the world could have the freedom and great privilege to care for their elderly loved ones like we do here in Mexico where we live. When my in-laws became sick with COVID-19 symptoms, one of my sisters-in-law immediately offered to be their full-time nurse. We got oxygen tanks around and administered the medications our doctors prescribed. When dehydration became an issue, the Red Cross workers came to in-laws' house to help with IVs for a small fee. Total home care was possible in a loving, relaxing family atmosphere. I believe that the fearless, loving care was a major factor in their rapid recovery. Above all, we praise our Heavenly Father who answered our prayers for healing. And I believe it's now time for some sports. Former Neepawa natives college bound. Bremner and Goodnison commit to post-secondary programs. A pair of players from Neepawa Natives Junior A Hockey Club are moving forward with their post-secondary plans. Defenseman Rhys Bremner and left-wing Rylan Goodnison have committed to Selkirk College and Alvernia University, respectively. The Neepawa Natives are extremely proud to announce that defenseman Rhys Bremner will attend Selkirk College in Castlegar, BC, and play for the Selkirk College Saints Hockey Club in the British Columbia Intercollegiate Hockey League. Bremner, who joined Neepawa in the 2018-19 MJHL season, played in 96 regular season games, contributing 5 goals and 21 assists, along with 328 over the 3 seasons for the Natives. When asked about Bremner, assistant coach Robbie Moore had this to say: I am proud of Rhys for selecting Selkirk College to further his hockey and academic career. Selkirk College is getting a passionate man and someone who is willing to play on the edge and do whatever it takes to win. Rhys will be missed around the room and in Neepawa. I wish him the best of luck. Bremner had this to say about his time in Neepawa: the time I spent in Neepawa will be remembered for the rest of my life. I will always cherish the relationships I've made with my teammates, coaches, and the community of Neepawa over the last 3 years. It is truly amazing to watch the community come together, from game day volunteers to sponsors and billets. It seems like almost everyone in town is supporting the team in some way. As disappointed as I am that my junior hockey career has come to a close, I am very excited to be able to further my education while playing hockey next season for the Selkirk Saints in Castlegar, BC. Selkirk College head coach Dave Nadiuk had this to say about Bremner. We are excited that Reese has committed to join us, and I look forward to having him join us this fall. His physical play, along with his ability to contribute offensively, will be a nice addition to our solid defensive core. I expect that Reese will step right in and play a key role for us next season. The entire Neepawa Natives organization would like to thank Reese for his 3 years of service in Neepawa and wish him all the best in the future. The Neepawa Natives have also announced that left wing Rylan Goodnison has committed to Alvernia University, located in Reading, Pennsylvania, for the 2022-23 season. The Golden Wolves are a Division III program that will compete in the United Collegiate Hockey Conference in the fall of 22-23. Goodnison from Killarney, Manitoba, who joined the Natives in 2019-2020, has played in 60 regular season games, contributing 17 goals and 11 assists, along with 153 PIM for the Natives. Goodison had this to say: "Playing in Neepawa has been a great experience. The organization has given me the grounds needed to improve my game and develop for the seasons ahead. I have chosen Alvernia University to further my hockey career, as it was a perfect fit for me in regards to academics and the sport I love." Alvernia head coach Andrew Burke had this to say about Goodison: "We are very excited to have Rylan joining our program here at Alvernia University in 22-23. Rylan was a pleasure to work with throughout the recruiting process, which made it easy for him to see our vision we have here at Alvernia. We have no doubt he will be a great addition, not only athletically, but academically as well." The entire organization would like to congratulate Rylan on his commitment to Alvernia. And if I can find it, one of my favorite things in the paper, and I've been looking forward to going through this, is our looking back section. This is compiled by Casper Werhan. And we go right back, starting on March 3rd, 1911. I'm going to have a drink of water before we do this. So 110 years ago, Friday, March 3rd, 1911, Radcliffe, official Canadian executioner for over 20 years, is dead at Toronto. The farmers of Springfield are asking the Manitoba legislature for power to build and operate an electric railway. In Arden, George Torrance, who died at Kelwood last Friday, was interred in the Arden Cemetery on Sunday. Mr. Torrance was a brother of Mrs. McIntosh of that place. Reverend J.E. Lane officiated at the grave. Those attending from Kelwood were McIntosh brothers and Misters Neil and Mabley. 100 years ago, so this is Friday, March 4th, 1921. Winnipeg strike leaders were liberated from prison on Monday, and 3 of them took their seats in Manitoba legislature. Administration in their honor in the Board of Trade building on Monday evening was attended by 6,000 people. 90 years ago, this is Friday, March 6, 1931. Mahatma Gandhi and Lord Irwin, Viceroy of India, have at last come to an agreement upon formulas for the settlement of all points in the dispute which has kept India in turmoil for so long and caused an economic loss of millions of dollars. 80 years ago, this is Friday, March 7th, 1941. Thousands of Canadian soldiers and airmen have landed safely at a British port and have headed for camp to join their fellow countrymen in the defense of Britain. Private T.C. Parker of the QOCH, who is now overseas with the Canadian Army, wishes to take this opportunity of thanking the town and the Business Girls Club for their kind remembrances received at Christmas. 70 years ago, so this is March 1st, 1951. Mrs. Harriet Blackwell, 84, wife of George A. Blackwell of Neepawa, passed away at her home here on Tuesday, February 25th. Mrs. Margaret Ann Campbell, 90, widow of the late Joseph James Campbell, and a pioneer resident of Manitoba since 1888, died in her home here on Thursday, February 22nd. Michael Mickelson, one of the first pioneer farmers of the Oberon district, died in Winnipeg on February 23rd. So 60 years ago, this is Friday, March 3rd, 1961. Neighbors and friends of Mr. and Mrs. Stanley Gutowski gathered in the Eden Community Hall Monday evening to honor them on the celebration of their 50th wedding anniversary, which occurred February 14th. Now we're at 50 years ago. This is March 4th, 1971. A model of the proposed additions to Neepawa District Memorial Hospital has been constructed by architects and will soon be on display in Neepawa. On February 26th, the partnership of Kerry Horn, Eldon Kelm, and Doug Fisher, which had operated a woodworking industry for 1 month, became incorporated at KED Industries Limited. The new company is located in the former Canvas Works building, across the highway from the airport property. They manufacture component parts for mobile homes and do custom work for other companies in the line of cabinets, coffee tables, drawers, trusses, and headboards. So 40 years ago, this is Thursday, March 5th, 1981. The marriage ceremony takes less than 1 hour. Obtaining a divorce can take years. In Canada, you can't get a divorce simply because you want one. Incompatibility, loss of affection, or boredom may seem like good reasons for ending a marriage, but they alone don't provide a legal basis for divorce. You must have grounds under the Divorce Act. The most common grounds are adultery, cruelty, and permanent marriage breakdown. Neepawa's Glenn Newton won first place in the open men's 1,500-meter race at the Brandon Optimist indoor track meet at the Keystone Center last weekend. His time was 4:03:03. In the open 3,000-meter event, Glenn nabbed second spot. Currently, Glenn is a first-year student at the University of Manitoba. In McCreary, an application to the Manitoba telephone system was made to install a new phone system for volunteer firemen. The system, to be operated from the hospital, would ring fire messages directly into 20 telephones. Secretary Vanetta Hannabug said it would probably take more than a year to obtain and install the system. 30 years ago, so we're getting into the stuff that I remember now. This is Tuesday, March 5th, 1991. Birthday celebrants at the party held March 22nd at McCreary Alonza Personal Care Home were Anna Christensen on her 96 years, Charles Oak on his 94 years, and Margaret McLaughlin on her 88 years. 22 years ago, so this is Monday, March 5th, 2001, one of the two men who spearheaded a drive to locate Neepawa's new personal care home on the CN property says he's disappointed the RHA chose to stick with the West Creek development. In January, Monty Simon and Cecil Pittman presented the board with a 734 signature petition, along with a request to reconsider its decision to build the $1.5 million care home in the West Creek development. Instead, the petitioners wanted the RHA to consider a plot of land owned by Canadian National adjacent to Highway 5 in Neepawa. The CN site also gained the support of the RM of Rosedale when that council forwarded a resolution to the RHA asking it to locate the new personal care home, fire hall, and ambulance garage on the CN property. RHA Chairman Robert Butternowski said while the board considered the petitioner's request, the CN site wasn't without problems. There are presently 2 elevators on the site, although it isn't known how long they will remain here. In addition, a portion of the property is contaminated, meaning the soil would have to be removed before any new construction could take place. The West Creek site was chosen as most suitable because it did meet our criteria, Butternowski said. Part of the problem with the CN site is that the whole thing isn't for sale, and that restricts the design of the new structure as well as parking. And we do have a photo here, and I'm going to read the caption on this, and I'll tell you why afterwards. It says, Sean Monroe, front and center, gazes happily at the $100 check he received as a lucky winner of the Neepawa Natives Silver Dollar Draw in 1981. The 6-year-old Neepawa lad was congratulated by Jerry Houston, Natives Club treasurer, Larry Evans, project coordinator, and Glenn Van Hove, team manager. Charlie Sneesby won the $10 consolation prize. Now, this is a little trip down memory lane for me. I actually went to school with Sean, and didn't know at this stage, but he was a very adorable kid, and it's just reminds me of some good times. So that is the news for Friday, March 5th, 2021. It's been my pleasure to read this to you, and thank you for joining us today.